Oh hey, you can't sneak up on people like that. Stranger danger. How you doing, my web crafting wizards? Today I have a really exciting episode for you guys. Have you ever built a gallery image for your website? Gosh sakes, it's a tragedy, isn't it? You have to implement all this logic and all this so the images loop back up around and the images never fit, because if you worked on web development before, you know the images always try to find a way to stretch out. That's a representation. And studies have shown that gallery images are not interacted with as much, so I thought that we'd take that whole experience and expand it into this interactive 3D sneaker visualizer thingy. So to get started, we're gonna head to spline.design and we're gonna hit login and we're gonna make a new project here. This is what we're gonna use to create the interactive animations. I feel like it's probably the most simplest program out there to get this going. You could take the route of going with Blender and stuff like that, but actually creating the animations and integrating it into a website becomes a bit more complicated. So it's nice that here you can actually attach the interactiveness and then also control it from the website quite easily. So first step is to actually import those 3 sneaker images. So they will be linked in the description down below. And the first step is I'll move all of these to the side here for now. And I'll take this rectangle and rename it to background. Let's also extend this quite a bit. This will be our scene. And we'll also increase the size of these. So if you click on each individual one, we can go here to the size and increase it to something bigger, like 10 looks quite good. So let's do 10 for each. Now I'll go through each shoe and I'll rename them. So I'll just select one here, I'll move it around. Let's call this, I'll keep it simple for now, shoe 2, by the way, very original. We'll take this one, we'll name it shoe 3. And the one below, shoe 1. Okay, the next step is let's change this background up so it doesn't look so boring. We're gonna select it and head over to gradients here. And I'm gonna change this to a radial gradient so I can add a bit more emphasis to the middle here. So let's open this panel up. We'll select the first color. Actually, we need to change it from linear over to radial. There we go. And then, yeah, just pick any colors that you like. I'll go with, maybe I'll try to pick like 2 colors from this image. There we go, something like that. That kind of matches the aesthetic of the colors of the sneaker as well. So there we go, I'm gonna grab shoe 1 now, and I'm gonna add a state to it. And then state 1 here, I'm gonna rename this to in view. Alright, so when this is in view, I'll just slide it over to the center like that. Okay, cool. And what else I'm gonna do is rotate this 360. Now it's up to you as well if you wanna keep shadows or not. That could look cool. And you can also, if I hold Alt, I could just like pan the view around here. I could grab that background and just slide it a tad bit to the back. Now again, if you want to keep the shadows, see, I could just move it so they stick a little bit in there, and then right click reset camera. So that's something if you want to do, but it's not mandatory. Well, nothing's mandatory. So the first step is to create a variable. So if you click on an empty spot here in the editor, we can head over to variables here, and I'll just create a number variable. Set it to 0, that's fine. And now we need some sort of UI to also control this. Now we can control it here if I just add something like a circle, for example, but you can also control this in code. So if you import the Spline package, you are able to control the counter or the number variable here through JavaScript if you want to. But that's gonna expand this tutorial for like 20 more minutes, so we'll just keep this simple. And I'll turn this into dark like that, and I'll add the text inside here as well. That's just gonna look like an arrow. Cool, and now on this button, I can add an event here. And I'll change the event over from start to mouse down. All right, so every time we click, and the mode here, I want it not once, but repeat each time, because I don't want the counter to reset to 0 after every time I click. So it would go to 1 and then from 0 to 1 again. But if I do repeat each time, the counter will go to 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 blah. However, here I can set a conditional as well and say, hey, if the number is bigger or equal than 2, so I'm just typing this in, then I can click here and hit a set variable. And what I want to do is if it's bigger than 2, then we'll just select the number and set it back to 0. All right, essentially looping back around. And that's all we need there. Else, here we'll do another set variable. We'll select our number, else we're gonna do number plus 1. So we'll always increment it by 1. And that's it. We can also display this on the screen if we want. If we head over here to text, I'll just draw out a big text and put a big 0 there. There we go. Let's change this to Poppins again and increase the font. Check this out. We can head over here to this plus icon here on the content, click plus and select number. Now when we hit play, look at that. It works. It loops. So let's select the first shoe, and I want the first shoe to start in view already, like that. And then I'll go here and set up an event for it. So we'll do start and change this over to variable change. And then we're gonna add 2 conditionals here. And if the number is equal to 0, that means that this image should slide in. So we can do from base state, which is our reset spot here, to in view. And all of our easings are gonna be changed over to spring with a stiffness of 60. This will look really cool. So make sure you add this to all of them. And then one more we need here. If the number goes to 1, that means the next slide is gonna come in. So this needs to go out. All right, so we're gonna need to create a new state. So let's click plus. We're gonna call this exit left, like that. All right, and exit left is literally gonna be this. Whoop. And then we'll like rotate it maybe 360. And let's rotate it up on its ass as well. There we go, maybe rotate it like that. Okay, cool, that's it. And then we'll position it like here and see how that looks. So now we're gonna add a new conditional. And here we're gonna say if number double equals to 1, transition this from in view to exit left with a spring. Oh, if it doesn't work, make sure you select number here for the variable, because I kept pushing it and it didn't work. Oh, look at that, there we go, something's happening, so that's good, look at that. We get the slide in and the slide out. So when it comes to 0, whoop. So that looks cool, we're happy with that. And then the slide out, maybe it could go, I don't mind that. You could maybe position it to the top a little bit, so on exit left, let's try it up here. So let's just go through this again. So there we go, that looks not too bad. Now one thing you might notice is our image starts off here, but then it does that weird thing. So what we need to do is after it exits, we essentially need to reset it quickly there. So what we can do is head over here and on exit left here, we can add another transition. There we go. Okay, so this one, right, we have one that's in view to exit left, and then the second one we want to make sure it goes from exit left to base state, and the transition time here is going to be 0. Okay, and then we'll just add a delay of 1 second to it, and that's that. So now when we click, as you can see, it resets right there. And to be fair, what we can do is just add another start here, and we'll do a transition just so we can trigger the first animation. So let's do on start, we'll add a transition and just change the shoe from the base state over to in view. There we go. We'll do spring and 60. There we go. So it starts now and then it loops nicely. So when we get back to 0, poof. All right, and now we just apply the same logic to the rest of the 2 shoes. For the second shoe, what we need to do is, again, add a variable change with the number. We'll set up an if statement for if the number reaches 1, what we want to do is go from the base state to in view, right, on the second shoe. And then if a conditional reaches number 2, what we want to do is go from in view to exit again, and then add another transition on top of it where we do exit to base state with a delay. So there we go, and now if we go over them, look at that, works nicely. So again, let's go here to the third one and add 3 states, so plus, plus, plus. We'll do a in view on this one, and then we'll do an exit. Cool, we'll add an event again, and here change this to variable change, and we want to make sure that I add a couple of conditionals here. If number will do equals to 2, that means we want this to come into view. So we'll add the transition, change this from base state over to in view with a spring. Change this to 60 as well. Let's have a look. Not working yet. Cool. Is the number now 2 by any chance? It is 2. Oh look, our base states have no animations on top of them. So let's select in view, move it actually in view, and then we'll rotate this 360. Exit, same shenanigans. We'll move it here, and then rotate it up, and then on its side like that. It's not hard to change the color of the background, you just need to make 3 states for it as well. So we have a base, and then you can do 0, 2, and then 0, 3, and then just change the colors up. So have a look at this. Our base state will be that. We'll go to the second one, and let's just grab the gradient here. I'll turn this down as well to 0, the lighting. I don't want the lighting to really affect any of this. So let's turn this all the way down, and then we'll go to the gradient, and let's just pick some other fun colors here, okay? We'll do with that. Change with that. Again, if you want to pick more specific colors that match the aesthetic of the product, please do. Alright, and then we'll go to the last one, and let's slide this all the way to the like purplish red colors. Then for the background, it's going to be really simple. We're going to add a variable, change with a number again, and we'll pick a conditional, and we'll say, hey, if number is equals to 0, then I want to make sure my transition stays from current to base state. All right, so this first one. And let's make a new one. And just to test this out, I'll try to set number equal to 1. And let's see if we can transition the background from whatever it's on to the second one. And there we go, works, yes! So we can just apply the same logic for the third one as well. So another conditional, and here we'll say if number double equals to 2, we'll transition over to the last one. And there we go, we got a nice loopy loop. And you know what I'm gonna do for the in-view view here? I'll just move them a tad bit down and maybe increase their size a tad bit. Like that. Because it is the main bit of the presentation here, is the shoes. There we go, so slides in nicely like that. But again, I want to make sure it was, we did not rotate the base state. Yeah, let's do 360 here. There we go, that looks much better. And then again, for the text, you can do the same. You can add 2 states. Maybe you can keep this a bit more simple. And like the base state might be just like up there with no opacity. So I'll just go to the opacity, slide that to 0. And then on the state here, we could just bring that back down like that and just increase the opacity back to 100. So you just have like 2 states now, right? Out and an in state. Next up, I'm gonna go to the frame here in the main section, and I'm gonna change this to 1280 by 720, the same that we had for ourselves. And now from here, we're gonna go to export, and before we export it, we do need to change a couple of options here. I don't want the user to be able to orbit, pan, and zoom this. Soft orbit, let's give it a try. Would that really affect us? No, not really. So that's perfect. So make sure you have those disabled, and then we're going to copy over the spline link. Head in Wix Studio, we'll create a new site from a blank canvas. And thankfully with Wix Studio, the nice thing is that you can just automatically import it via an iframe in like 2-3 simple steps, and then you can just get into designing your actual products and add the descriptions and everything else you need about your product. So here we are in Wix Studio, and again, it's super simple now. We can just expand this middle section if we want right there, and we can go here to the plus icon, and if you head over to embed and social, you can do an embedded code section here, and boom, you can just attach an iframe like that. And then we can just expand this and view it in full screen like that. That's awesome. Let's also go here to the business name, and we'll switch this up. Sweet, we'll do sneaker shop. We'll change the paragraph as well from the font. We'll do lobster. I really like that for a logo icon here. And I'll change this to lobster. I really like the look of that. And we'll also get the image here and change it to something a bit more relatable. The sneaker logo is actually quite cool. I wish it was a blue. Oh, we could change the color, no way. Look at that, that's nice. There we go. And then we'll grab this as well and change it to not such an intense color. So there we go, hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you learned something new. Let me know if you want to see more 3D stuff as well. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.